Okay, so for dominant, obviously we're going to use the dominant chord a lot in versions of dominant. Don't forget about passing tones like this to connect two dominants in a row. And then unlike when we're in the tonic area and we can use 5 to help establish tonic, like I was just talking about, that doesn't work the other way around. So we generally want to avoid 1 as much as possible when we're in the dominant area of a phrase. The reason is, think about this phrasing thing of this tonic, dominant, tonic area thing as kind of like a polarity thing. I don't know how, there's got to be a better way to explain that. It's basically you're in one or you're in the other. And when you're in the other, what you're really in is the absence of the first one. How else can I explain that in a more transparent way? Let's go back to early on in one of my very first theory courses. I explained tonic by saying tonic is like home, right? When we're in the tonic, we are home. We're comfortable, the piece can end there, and we're all pretty happy about that. Dominant, and especially in this case, what we're talking about is something in a dominant area, means we're not home. We could be anywhere else in the world, but we're not home, right? And so where we are when we're talking about this dominant area is we're anywhere that gives the sense of not home, right? We could be anywhere else in the world, anywhere on the planet, but it's not home. So what we want to do in this dominant area of a phrase is give the sense that we're not home, but we're going to go home eventually. So if you even hint at, so if you give a big 1 chord, you're going to give the sense of home. And we don't want that. We want to prolong it. That's what this whole middle dominant area is about. It's about prolonging that sense of home. Because in the next section, we're going to go back to tonic, and then it's going to feel like home again, and it's going to be a very rewarding feeling. That's why we like this phrasing of tonic, dominant, tonic, because it gives us a sense of home. We've gone on a little trip away from home. We can suspend that feeling of home, create a little drama with that, and then come back home. So that's what the dominant area is meant to do. We really wanted to play around with 5, maybe a little bit of 4. You can maybe squeak in a 2 chord in there, and then use a lot of passing stuff to get passing tones to play around with it as much as possible before heading home. Later, in a future class, once we start talking about sonata form, that is kind of like what we're talking about now, but amped up, like a lot. In that, we'll talk about how to expand the dominant section to be, 10, 20 minutes long if we really wanted to. Composers have done it. But for now, we're thinking more small scale. So you don't need to expand it for hours and hours. We just want to stretch it out over a couple bars. Or maybe even just 1 bar like this. So we've got some passing tones and we just push through it. Cool? Okay, let's do a little worksheet on identifying kind of tonic dominant areas. And then let's move on to talk more about cadences.